Okay, just wait to see if we can get some people in before we kick off with anything. Okay. That's a bit better audio quality on the music. Okay. Share this out real quick. Okay. Hey, sup, Guru? Let's fix. There we go. All right. I feel like for my own sanity, I'm pretty much done with the base painting on this guy, and I've been moving on to the washes, which is one of my most favorite parts of this. I'm using this parchment paper so my hands don't rub off any of the already paint that's on him, and I can have to go back and redo a lot of work. So hopefully it doesn't crinkle too much. Ooh, that is kind of loud. Here, let's instead use a paper towel. Be less loud. One sec. go. I'm just gonna set that somewhere. Okay. Now, to start off, oh shit. Last thing I need to do is drop him. Jesus. That must be. Okay. Now to start off the discussion about possibly my ideas on statting this guy. I'd like to focus on the creature in which I am basing the paint color scheme on, and that would be this beautiful little creature, the Legiacris. For those who don't know, although I'm pretty sure you do, Drew, Legiacris is from Monster Hunter video game series. I don't know if it originated, but I know it's primarily shown off and a big focus point in Monster Hunter 3. And he's a really cool aquatic. They classify it as a Leviathan-based wyvern, and he has a lot of like electricity-based moves. He's fairly big, and conveniently enough for wanting to base him off of this, there is actually a homebrew muster manual for Monster Hunter, which involves the Legiacris, which is pretty cool, although now, as you see, if you can see up here, it says a huge Leviathan. Now, looking at the size of this guy and his base, and comparing him to just a regular mini, and the size difference, this guy is easy to assume he is bigger than huge. It's probably colossal, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Hopefully others could help me clarify, who like play more D&D and is used to the actual size differences. But I feel like this guy is, at least in comparison, is a bit bigger. But to get into the actual painting process of this, now I feel like the electric elements based off going on stat-wise works for both, either going for Legiacris here, or if you wanted to take the sort of like shape and pattern, if I'm actually paint in blue, he could easily fall into the blue dragon-esque style. It's like, which works if you want to try to stat him like a blue dragon without the flying abilities, and bring him around like to like younger adult in other ways. But I feel like these stats for Legiacris here can work pretty well, because the Patreon I got this from, the Artisan Guild, as it shows in my the title in my stream here, he is the Depth Dragon, which of course assumes a lot of aquatic nature to him, or you could even interpret the depth as in like very deep underground, so it could be more cave based. It's a very up for debate, but having it be aquatic in nature really helps go for the idea of Legiacris here. But let's focus on Legiacrus here for a bit. And let's have a look at his stat line before we move on to some of the other ideas. Now, Legiacrus here shown as a huge Leviathan, unaligned, with 204 hit points. And like it has a 24d12 plus 48 hit dice. Now, he's got a 30-foot swim speed, 30-foot walking speed on land, and 50-foot swim speed. He also has a 16 in strength, 18 in dex, 14 in constitution, base 10 in intelligence, 11 in wisdom, and a 7 in charisma. Which, that kind of fits. He's not very well liked all that much in the story of the game. He's got proficiency in both the charisma and wisdom saving throws. He also has a +5 to his perception. He's now easily enough, since we've talked about how him having a lightning element to him, and even if you're, especially if you're familiar with him in Monster Hunter, it makes sense that he has immunity to lightning damage, since that is what he is attuned to and like what he does. He doesn't need. He has no language. He doesn't talk. He's just a monster. So he's not like other dragons. If we were going based off of this. And to answer your question, Guru, there is a chart of sorts. I couldn't quote which book it's in, but there is a chart that talks about like how big a thing gets before it hits that size, and then like if you were to represent that onto the actual board of D&D, it has like a size on the base they're on, so how many squares they take up. But as I was saying, like now this monster manual has him classified as a challenge rating 14, which is seems like it'd be pretty like challenging in comparison to other like creatures, especially with a pretty decent health pool, and the fact he'd probably end up fighting him mostly in water, which would cause a whole other form of issues. I could agree a bit on the con there, Guru, but Dex would make a bit more sense because of his agility in like water and the swimming base of him, like being a very like what's the word I'm looking for? Just like agile, like able to twist, turn, and move quickly in the water. The Dex makes sense to me. Now, strength would not be at all dumped, but it makes sense that Dex is one of the higher stats. But I feel like you could probably swap the con and strength, maybe. Or at least make con the highest and then Dex the second. Now, we can look at right after the challenge rating and how much experience he gives, because he gives like 11,500, which is, for some, assuming I still think of that challenge rating, it's pretty good if you can take him out. He has a thing here called a lightning aura. It says, lightning sparks off of the Legiacrus into the surrounding area. Any creature that ends its turn within 5 feet of Legiacrus takes 3 lightning damage base or 1d6 lightning damage. So just being close enough to him to like melee him, if you're a melee fighter of sorts, you're gonna get hurt unless you're able to get out of there without taking up attacks of opportunity, or otherwise you gotta try to either keep your distance or be able to handle that damage while you're fighting him. Now he also has legendary resistances. He's treated as a legendary creature. So 2 times a day, he can choose to succeed on a failed saving throw of sorts, which is always a hassle when it comes to legendary creatures. Now into his actions. Oh, this Ashar is in just the normal launch manual. Cool. His actions is just a multi-attack. He can make 2 attacks, one with a bite and one with his claws. That's decent and standard with the most difficult monsters. He also has, now for his claws, he has, it's a melee weapon, plus 8 to hit, reaches 5 feet, and it's against 1 target. A hit is either a base average 13 damage or 3d6 plus 3 slashing. And then the bite, melee weapon, plus 8 as well, 5 feet, 1 target, 16 average or 3d8 plus 3 piercing, and also the bite will add a plus 3 or 1d6 lightning damage to that. Just base, that's what his bite does. He's always putting out the electricity when he's in a fight. Now, he has another action he can use instead of multi-attack, which you can see here is called a lightning ball. It has a recharge on 5 to 6. It looks like that's treated similar to other dragons, like breath attacks. The Legiacrus exhales a ball of lightning to a location within 60 feet of it. Each creature within a 10-foot radius of the location must make a DC 17 Dex saving throw, taking average 60 or 11d10 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. That is pretty rough. Like, it doesn't have as much like reach as like other dragons' breath attacks, but it does give an opportunity of like sending it a bit farther and more targeted, and it's got some decent damage, but he's also not the same as, or maybe as difficult as like other actual, like say an adult dragon, because like they're intelligent, they have communication and other ways to attack, and their breath attacks are still nothing to sneeze at, but it's got an interesting thing there. Now, because of course he's a legendary creature, we can look at his legendary actions. Like normal, he has, and other legendary dragons has 3 actions, choosing from the options below. Only 1 legendary action option can be used at the time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. He regains these at the start of his turn. It can either use one here called Detect. It makes a Wisdom Perception check. So if you're like, say, you're trying to hide from him, or like say the rogues are trying to do their sneak attack stuff, he can try to actually spot you without wasting his full action. That's not too bad. It's not great because he doesn't have, from what I can see here, doesn't have any like crazy like a lot of dragons have blind sight. They can just sense you through either smell or hearing or otherwise, just feeling your presence. And I don't know if that's really great to be wasted as a legendary action. But another one here is just a basic claw attack. If someone's close enough and he wants to just try to like rake them real quick, he could just make that claw attack right there on those people getting up into stuff. But this one's really cool here at the bottom. Another legendary action is called Lightning Charge, and it costs 2 of his 3 actions. But the Legiacrus can move up to its speed, which, if we're in water, 50, without provoking attacks of opportunity. During this move, it may move through other creatures. Any creature the Legiacrus moves through must succeed on a DC 17 Dexterity saving throw, or take 13 or 3d6 plus 3 lightning damage, and is paralyzed until the end of their next turn. That's fucking rough. So if like you have unfortunately decided you and your team line up just conveniently, especially with how big he is, even if we're just using that huge stats, that can cause a lot of problems for the whole team. It's like that is, ugh. Like I tend to like so far play a lot of like casters, so deck save is not my character's forte, so that kind of scares me a little bit. And like trying to stay like out of range usually is good for the casters, but like I said, like if he can just get within that 50-foot range, he can get to you. It's like yeah, like it doesn't have the whole issue of it's like if like the plus of like say if even if they pass the save they'll take like half the damage. Instead it's like kind of treated more like cantrips where they don't take any damage, but you really better hope you pass that 17 deck save. Like that, and that paralysis can be like an ender. I agree with that. Like, I've not played enough of the older games to actually fight against Legiacus yet, and I haven't run into him on Generations Ultimate. But like, he seems like a problem. But like I said, like the thing with the paralysis status and why that's so freaking scary is that um, you're treated as I think it's the incapacitated is the stat that does this cause when you're incapacitated and in this situation paralyzed, um, attacks have advantage. I think most attacks, especially melee attacks, um, and if you are hit um, within, I think it's like within 5 feet while incapacitated, it is an auto crit. So if he comes up on you and decides to start multi-attacking, like clawing, biting, or whatever after you've been paralyzed, each one of those that hit is gonna crit, and even the tanks are gonna have a problem dealing with that. Uh, so, so like, I don't have the books with me. I'd like to look up the like how you like how you would want to decide um, like challenge ratings, because like some say like you want the party to be the level of the thing's challenge rating that you're fighting, and then like I think Xanathar has ideas for making um, uh, like encounters, whether it be random or otherwise, that decides like say if you have this many in your party of this level, you want like either like this, and it shows you like a ratio of like this many creatures of this challenge rating or this one creature of this challenge rating, and if it's like legendary or not, and like where that kind of fits in like a more in a proper interesting fair or deadly easy, like it helps in the encounters. So for something of this challenge rating, for those who would be fighting something at this, would hopefully have like a decent amount at a decent level. Like if they're at level 14, if you were doing this, like especially for the casters, would have a lot of ways of like dealing with that. A lot of the more like either dex based or strength based, like the orcs and clerics, like their dex saves should be a bit easier, and they have all kinds of crazy shit to get out of that. But at the same time, it's like that can still become like a big challenge, and they could get easily screwed by their dice. So, but at the same time, it's like that would be an insane fight to deal with. Especially, like I said, if this was happening underwater, that changes literally everything, especially for casters, because that brings up a debate, and like, and it's, I don't know if it's talked about or statted in books. But when it comes to casters and you're underwater and you are wanting to cast a spell that has a verbal component, I've seen one ruling towards like they are able to get the air they had out enough to cast that one spell, but now they are out of oxygen and they are considered drowning, and now they don't have any air to cast more spells. And even if you cast water breathing, like someone like did that for the team, there is the debate on whether or not your verbal components while underwater isn't muffled and muddied enough, like to like mess it up or cause you a problem with the spell or not. You know, it's a tricky kind of thing, and it's really up to the DM to rule. So, but it can be like underwater fights are very complicated and can get messy, especially when dealing with a more three-dimensional fight, like going up and down. Like everybody could do that, since like it's like everyone could be technically treated as flying because you're swimming through the water. So like movement speeds and like locations for everybody, it can get super like confusing and complicated. And it could really like make this like 14 challenge rating and like make it way harder than it is. But I like the idea of using this as a way to stat it. According to Xanthar's guide, a party of 6 PCs at the 14th level solo monster rating is recommended as CR 19. A party of 5 at 8 is 18 CR and 4 is 17. Okay, so according to Xanathar, it looks like, say, Guru in our game, we're 5 people, and we're currently at level 6. So, one creature for a challenge rating against us would be like a challenge rating at 10 would still be very difficult for us, wouldn't it? Or maybe it'd have to be a little bit higher. Since we got the book out, maybe you can help me figure that out. Getting oddly, just a slight bit off topic on the stats in the creature itself. I'll talk about the painting technique here that I'm using. Washes is one of my favorite parts of painting here, because it helps add a bit of depth and detail and kind of bring in a sort of color you want into this. Because a good spot to look at, like right. Let's see if I can position this right here. You can see on his arm, like, no wash, the claws, how they are. And then you see the difference on, like, here in the neck. The shading, where it pulls into these little cracks and stuff like that to kind of give it sort of depth. And one thing I like to done here is, like, stain and colorize the claws. And it makes them kind of more look like the claws of a creature, because like very few of them have like perfectly pearly white claws, because they're using it, they're walking, they're carving through things, and they're moving through the sand, the dirt, the mud, and etc. so forth. So it would be a little dirty, stained from the movement. Which is also why when I was painting him initially with the these colors, I intentionally chose a lighter tannish tone on the belly and a lighter blue, because of the intention of the washing later, because it's going to make it a lot darker before I go back with the highlights. Now, I know I made these browns a bit, I chose a dark color brown than I intended, but that's fine. I kind of like that base anyway. Okay, so Guru said our CR would be 9. A party 5, all level 6, to CR 9. So this would be way past deadly against us. That'd be rough. Shit. So yeah, we'd want to be pretty high up there in our level. And people to fight this guy, especially underwater. We'd want him to be either equal, if not of us, to be an even higher level. Like have him be like not hard, but like a base challenge rating for us to make the fight, if he drags it into like a more underwater fight, to be a bit easier than just our balance, because that's gonna make everything a pain in the ass. Yeah, so I'm trying to get this wash in these nooks and crannies properly. Now, to explain to anybody who watches this later, explaining what a wash kind of is when it comes to painting. What Leacre CR at the moment is? It is a CR 14. Okay, as in a wash is a lot more thinner than paint. It's a mix of like a paint and an ink kind of thing. It's very wet, and you want to really kind of like get pretty liberal with it, depending on where you're applying it, and like let it do like a water or liquids would do, and let it just kind of flow, let gravity kind of do its job, and get into those areas, because those wrinkles and otherwise are going to like be where the shadows kind of like gather and show the darker areas, and we'll go back later and apply highlights, and so you have this like with the base, the shadow, and the highlight, you have a more three-dimensional color to your mini, and it makes them look a lot better. It's like the little things that just kind of bring it out and show it off a bit really good. Now what I'm going to try to do when it comes to the highlights later is actually do two-stage highlight. I'll re-hit him with the base, if not a little bit of a brighter version of the base, to kind of bring back that color a little bit. And then in some places I'll probably just use just a straight white, or maybe even just a very brightened, like mixed with white base color to bring out that highlight even brighter. So it kind of helps, like I said, bring back the original color, and then have those highlights where like light and would be hitting them and really bringing out theirs like shines and whatnot. Now, depending on like what kind of look you're going for, you can have the wash be a very similar color to what you're painting on, or a color that kind of changes its sort of shade to match more of the color you're going for. Or you can go a lot simpler if you only have like access to so much, and you can make a black wash. You can either buy a simple black wash or make one yourself that just kind of like darkens it in general, and it kind of gives it like a cool cell shaded look. I did that for a lot with a lot of my first like paints, and it works. It's really good, and it kind of pulls off the look pretty well, and it heck even saves time, so you're not trying to like get too like picky meticulous. It looks really good on the mini. Our party could maybe take him down at the 11th level according to Xanthar's. Okay, so almost double our current level. Jeez. See, I got 3 legs done. I got one more leg to do. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say like the claws here. I'm not gonna do the exact same thing to the teeth as I did to these, cause I am leaning more into the like water-dwelling creature, and a lot of them you see for some reason like their teeth, especially like sharks, probably because they regrow so often, but they're usually fairly clean. I mean, I guess if you swam through and like constantly like filtered and took salt water, it kind of would keep grime and stuff off of your teeth. So I'm gonna keep his teeth pretty clean. I'm probably end up just using a simple black wash on that one to give it some shade and depth, and then re-highlight it with some white. But and I'm thinking about doing a similar thing to the horn, so he keeps that sort of like blue dragon look, and kind of gives it sort of like a narwhal-esque thing, because like that's one of the few creatures in our world that have a horn like that sticks out is a narwhal, and those are pretty pearly white. So I'll just leave that and treat it similar to the teeth and like black shade. Keep it pretty clean. I'm not gonna dirty up like I am the claws and whatnot. Gonna get this last foot, and I'm gonna let him dry for a bit, and we'll move on to the next stats we could try to base him off of a bit. That would help. Now, washes are something you want to make sure it completely dries before you add any sort of paint to on top of, because of the very watery, inky nature of it. It can really mess with the adhering and how the rest of the paints sort of like act and stay. It can really gum it up and look really weird. So you want to make sure that fully dries really well and it's solidified, so you can like add more paint to it, especially for the highlights, or if you need to touch up a spot that got messed up and then rewash it later. Okay. Gotta get his thigh here. Get that wash in there. And I noticed one of my friends pointed out when we were painting minis together that the wash also kind of adds this sort of like shininess to it, which is just true. It kind of adds a bit of a shine. Yeah, if you don't like it being really shiny, it's like the highlights could probably help with that, and just adding another base coat over, so you just keep the like darker crevices that you want, and also like usually you want to like for protection and to keep the paste from off, you can do a kind of a clear coat on it, and they sell a matte clear coat, which like it still kind of looks a bit somewhat shiny on the clear coat, but it's not too bad. Like it's like here's one I painted. It has a clear coat, and it does look to have a bit of shine, but it's not like glossy shiny. It kind of helps like keep it down into like a reality. Like a gloss shine I used is like on these frozen creatures here, and it kind of works. It's supposed to be like covered in ice, so I made a very glossy, shiny-esque to the crystals here to make them bring into the point of was that in frame? There we go. Ice. Yeah. Let's see. I've got everything. Oh, let's make sure I get that. Good. Got his webs in there. Okay. Looks like we got the inner part here. I don't think I'll have to add too much more. If I do, it won't be too difficult. But unlike the base coating, I think I only need to apply one good coat of wash. So we're gonna let him dry for a bit. Then I might add a bit of wash to his mouth here before I move on to all the blue on him. Or I might actually apply the brown to his here first before I get the blue. Now, while he dries, let us talk about something that fits a bit more and can easily adapted. Oh, monster size. Okay. As for size, the monster manual states a large is 10 foot by 10 foot, huge is 15 by 50 foot, gargantuan is 20 by 20 foot, assuming Colossus is anything above 20 foot by 20 foot. So he might still fit within. Well, that's just the base size. We just don't know about the actual like creature size and height. But let's lean into this next one. The iconically known water-based. Is that thunder? Is it storming outside right now? That was a very long-lasting thunder rumble. Holy crap. Oh yeah, it's storming right now. Holy crap. Jeez. Anyway, iconic water dragon, the dragon turtle. Every sailor's, pirates and otherwise, nightmare. Now, the dragon turtle works here, but we got to keep in mind about its armor class because this guy does not have a shell. He's got scales and whatnot and spikes, but he doesn't have the turtle shell. So we got to keep that in mind. So we could probably bump it down to the 18 that Legiacrus had. That could work. Bump it down by 2, maybe a little bit more because of that. Or like mess with the dex to like keep it at 18 after bumping it down from the shell. But this guy is a powerhouse. Unlike Legiacrus earlier, the dragon turtle is a beefy, thick boy of 25 strength and a 20 con. Like, that is rough. Let's see if I can make this a bit bigger to see a bit better. There we go. The dragon turtle, gargantuan dragon. So the size works for this. 20 natural armor. We can change that. 341 hit points. Damn. Slower land speed, and he's actually slower in the water than the Legiacrus. So, like I said, for a guy a lot more like aerodynamic than like this dude, and without the shell, he could be a little bit faster. Which is why I'm really liking the Legiacrus stats for him. Now, saving throws are a Dex, Con, and Wisdom +5, a 10 to Con, and a 6 to Wisdom. He can physically take it. His shell protects him quite a bit, and his adaptability in the water, and you can't really break into the mind of most dragons anyway. Yeah, he is dummy thick. Now, he doesn't have any immunities like this guy had, because he probably does. In this one, he's not going to have a lot of like element to him, so he's just got his fire resistance, no immunities. He has senses here. He has a dark vision of 120 feet and a passive perception of 11. Now, he actually can speak. This one can, like most dragons, because most dragons can speak from a wormling from when they're hatched. Now, he whatever Aquan is, I don't know what that is. I need to figure that out. I'm assuming that's just whatever, like things like merfolks and other types of the actual like sea creatures would speak. And of course Draconic, because he is still a dragon. His challenge rating here is significantly more at 17 and 18,000 XP if you beat him. Now he is amphibious, so of course he can breathe air and water. Like not exactly like a turtle. Turtles still have to come up, but this is mythic, like a mythical, magical world. So of course he can just breathe in these two elements wherever he wants. Now, typical dragon thing, they have multi-attack. This one can make 3 attacks. Could the Leaguers make 3? I don't think so. 2. So this one can make 3. One with his bite, and then use both claws. Now it can also make, instead, make 1 tail attack in place of the 2 claw attacks. So if he has to use the tail, it becomes 2 attacks, but when we get to that, there's probably a good reason for it being substituted. But going with his base bite. Melee weapon, plus 12 to hit, and it can reach 15 feet. Fuck. Only gets 1 target, 3d12 plus 7 piercing damage. 15-foot reach with that bite. Oh. Now his claws have a plus 12 to hit, like the melee, like the bite, and has a 10-foot reach. Not as bad, but not as good. Oh, Jesus. Which, like, to be fair, like, if we're using these stats for this guy, that would make sense a bit, because he is a long, more serpentile. This got this neck to him. So having him be able to, like, reach out and snatch someone would make sense. And I feel like that is also flavored to, like, other turtles, because they have a really weird, like, elongated, like, stretchy necks. I'm sure you don't want to, and your character Aldous, who is a sailor by nature, would probably also really not want to see one of these, and has probably heard many a nightmare tales about these things. Now we'll move on to the tail attack. Melee weapon, plus 12, and another 15-foot reach against 1 target. It hit is 3d12 plus 7 bludgeoning. It's about as strong as it's pretty much as strong as the bite. Now, if the target is a creature, it must succeed a DC 20 strength save, or be pushed up to 10 feet away from the dragon turtle and knocked prone. Now, I don't think it can be knocked prone in water, though, so that's kind of like I said, that complicates things, because technically, you could, if you were agile enough, like, because in comparison to the disadvantage range attacks have on prone targets, if you could, like, try to position yourself prone, but that complicates combat so much. Like, a DM who wants to incorporate water combat would really have to keep in mind, set up some, like, these are the rules for water, if they haven't already in some book, like, specified these things. So that's just oof. Now, he still has a breath attack like other dragons, and is not technically an element, but it's called stream breath, which makes you think he's got a reservoir of water and he just sprays and gushes it. And it has a recharge on 5 to 6, which I didn't explain the other one if you didn't know. Just roll the d6, and on 5 or 6 on the roll on his turn, at the beginning of his turn, he gets that breath back. Whether he wants to use it or not is depending on the situation, but usually they do. Now, it says the dragon turtle exhales a scalding stream, so this is boiling hot water, in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in that area makes a DC 18 Constitution saving throw, not Dex. It's kind of like the Ice Dragon's breath. You just gotta physically be able to take this. Now, taking 15d6 fire damage, because it's like boiling hot water, on a failed save or has much on a successful one. Being underwater does not grant resistance against this damage. Oh, fucking what, mate? Okay, so his breath is so powerful and so hot with the water. You just being in like the coldest waters does not help with this. Ooh, I mean, this makes sense. Like you're in his element and he knows this, but oh god. So like a lot of this can work for stats for this guy quite well, um, and not a lot would have to be changed, like except for like maybe the armor class, some of the base stats, and like his speeds and stuff like that. But everything else could very easily be translated onto this guy. Even the size works. Like so. This is biggest fear. Yes. Now I got a bit of a description here. Dragon turtles are among the most fearsome creatures of the ocean, as large and voracious as the oldest of its land-based dragon kin. A dragon turtle strikes with its deadly jaws, streaming breath, and crushing tail. A dragon turtle's rough skin is the same dark green color as the deep water where the monster dwells. Interesting. Silver highlights lining the shell resemble light dancing on open water, and a surfacing dragon turtle is sometimes mistaken for the reflection of the sun or moon on the waves. So if he's just kind of like bobbing up and down a little bit, like if he like just kind of like going on top of the surface, he can blend in and not even know he's approaching because he looks like the reflection. Yeah, that Kraken's scary. Abolus, mysterious, and frightening. Dragon turtles, I'm on out of the fucking water. Dragons of the deep. Like true dragons, dragon turtles collect treasure. First by sinking ships, and then by shifting through the wreckage for coins and other precious items. The dragon turtle will swallow the treasures for transport, and then he just regurgitates it when it reaches its lair. Dragon turtles dwell in caves hidden in the coral reefs or beneath the seafloor among rugged stretches of coastline. If a choice cave is already inhabited, a dragon turtle attacks its current resident in an attempt to take it over. Very dragon-esque. Mercenary monsters. A dragon turtle is smart enough to be bribed. And pirates sailing seas patrolled by these creatures quickly learn to offer them treasure in exchange for safe passage. Clever Sahuagin sometimes ally with dragon turtles, enticing them with treasure to use their blistering breath weapons in Sahuagin raids against ships and coastal settlements. Also, the freaking Sahuagin like can bribe these things. Oh man. Which I have a couple things kind of like that I can paint. I've been printing. Like, okay, let me grab this guy real quick, because this is also from Artisan Guild. This guy is a fun one. Make sure he's in frame here. This guy is a fun little dude. He uses wields this weird like staff thing because I think he's a bit more of a magic user. They got a staff here, but I'm pretty sure he could probably like carve you up with it too. For this one, I want to like paint his pieces before I assemble him because it'll make it that much easier. Got a nice little like base here that's got like seashells, driftwood, like bones and stuff. And the name they gave him is pretty funny. It's like Pope Bulbulba or something like that. It's so weird and try to pronounce. Yeah, Bulbulba. I don't know. It twists my tongue every time. But he's got like a little freaking like pot belly, like hunchback. He's a weird little anglerfish looking thing here. I like the creatures from the set that came out, and so it really kind of helps work with this guy a bit. speaking of Kraken, he has a few attacks I think would be interesting. Fling is pretty funny. Yeah. I could try to find those stats real quick. 1 second. Kraken. 5th edition. Let's have a look. See. Actually, 1 second. Let me. Although I find it weird the imagery they use for the Kraken in 5e. It's like it's so odd. It is such a weird departure in comparison to like how they depicted him in other editions, and like how he's seen a lot in like normal mythos. Like you think of like a giant squid with a few other things, and this one's just so strange. But he's not bad. It's just not what what your brain first goes to when you think, oh, a Kraken. Okay, let's see. Kraken. Siege monster. Actions, bite. Tentacle. Also, I just noticed one thing really interesting about the dragon turtle. And I don't know if I'm just missing it from this book or is this sort of, he doesn't have legendary actions. What? But the Kraken does. Tentacle attack or fling. The Kraken makes 1 tentacle attack or uses its fling. Let's see. Does it specify fling? Here's fling. 1 large or smaller object held or creature grappled by the Kraken is thrown up to 60 feet in a random direction and knocked prone. If a thrown target strikes a solid surface, it takes a d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it was thrown. So, it can take upwards of like a full like 66. If the target is thrown at another creature, that creature must succeed on a DC 18 Dex saving throw or take the same damage and be knocked prone. Oh fuck. Can also create a lightning storm. Oh shit. Ink cloud. That's pretty rough. Oh, the ink cloud is also this poison damage shit. Kraken's fucking rough, dude. Wait, what's his CR? 23 challenge. Fuck. Damn. 5e Kraken's nothing more than a merman. I wouldn't go like that far, but it's like it kind of reminds me like a weirder looking version of the Kraken from what was that one weird movie like Clash of the Titans or something like that. Like that one was kind of weird. Now oh yeah, you reminded me also, as you brought up aboleths and Kraken, there's another creature that came in the same set from Artisan Guild as that dude, as that Pope guy. It's this creepy looking aberration dude. Now, this one really kind of like sells the sort of like an aboleth sort of looking thing, but it is more flavored as like instead of like this weird mystical-esque just eldritch being sort of thing. It has more of an actual like grown-up of a sea creature with like the barnacles, the fins, and the things are along the side. But then it still has like the weird eye, base, mouth, and tentacles like the aberrations and aboleths normally have. I'm not attaching to the base because I want those painted separately as well. But this thing is, it one's got a pretty cool base with the waves, water, and rocks. But this thing is pretty terrifying and awesome. And I can't wait to get some paint on this one. Also, like most of the sets, there is one of the sea creatures, the merman or Sahuagin based dudes, you can print specifically to where he's set up. You can like have him riding him. This could be a mount for that guy. But those are pretty cool. This one isn't like big enough or like got enough gold onto it to be considered a kraken. So I still feel like it's more of aboleth aberration base kind of thing. So there's that. That's some of the things I paint off so far, but there's a lot more dudes to paint with within that set. So I hear you. I hear you. What are you doing? You just want attention, kitty. Don't you attack me. Okay. So that's 2 so far. The Dragon Turtle works pretty good. Oh, there's a little bit more here. Forgot about the elemental mind. Dragon turtles sometimes find their way through sunken planar rifts to the elemental plane of water. Those monstrous specimens can often be found in the service of marids, which strap magnificent coral thrones onto the backs of the dragon turtles and ride them as mounts. Huh. Interesting. Nice. Let's see. Let's say, before we get on to the next stat conversation, I need to give me something to drink real quick. I am thirsty. Yes, hello, kitty. Just grabbing me a beverage. Oh, jeez. Don't knock over the chair when you run out of it, dude. Hi. Okay. Come on, to the chair. There you go. Better. What? You're getting too playful. Alright. Yes, hi, kitty. I really want attention right now. This is a bad time to want attention, dude. Alright. Now, next wash. I need... Here it is. Carenberg Crimson. This is more of like a red wash. I'm going to be applying this one to the mouth area, actually. Yeah, I can see most things, like especially something with like the opposable joints and like actual like arm and thumb of this thing using fling, but I feel like the Kraken is like way more like able to do that because like I think its base attack can get you into the grapple, and then it can use this move later to then fling it. So it's a lot easier and more practical for the Kraken to do because he has so many more tentacles and attacks and stuff like that. So, like, yes, he could use fling, but I wouldn't say it as practical. There we go. Wash out my brush. Now, when it comes to the topic of, like, basing this guy off of dragons, he works pretty well in another sense to where, depending upon what color you decide to paint this guy as, you could use that concept and base his stats and abilities off of that similar color of dragon. Get really careful here because I don't like. I'm probably gonna get on the teeth, but I don't want to get too much on the teeth because I don't want them to come out red. But I can easily cover that up, but still, that's just more work and time. It's easily fixable. I just don't want to have to do that. Yeah, this red wash works really well for the inner mouth and tongue because it keeps that coloration from with the mouth. I might try to figure out what I'm gonna do to actually make the tongue stand out a bit more. I might mess with that in the highlighting because the tongue is usually, at least for humans and some things, it's a bit darker colored than the rest of the mouth, I think, or is it lighter? I haven't paid much attention to that aspect in a while. I just use my mouth as what you use mouths for. Take that in whatever context you want. Could also double make sure, like, when it comes to lizards and otherwise, that same thing, same aspect fits here on that color shading situation. And just a little bit more shade. Oh yeah, that really kind of popped out a bit of a detail in the mouth. Really made those lines stick out and it didn't hit, I mostly just hit the teeth on the inside, didn't get a whole lot on the edges, so I won't need a lot of cleanup there. So that's pretty good. Didn't mess that up too bad. Yeah. Something weird going on with the music? The heck? Just my stream deciding what to focus on. See, I'm gonna flip him around now so I don't have to try to keep holding him, and even with the paper towel messing that up. Put him in his base, so I keep my hands off of him as much as possible. And now let's wash his back parts here. I see a couple white spots, but that's pretty close to where I'll highlight it, so I won't worry about that for now. So now I'm bringing out this darker brown shade. Music's fine here, that's fine. And keep meaning to ask, what is your preferred way to hide your crimes? I guess that depends on the crime. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you're gonna have to specify what kind of crime before we can, like, think about, like how we can hide it. Let's see. Now we're breaking out the Agrex Earthshade. I'm gonna paint on this stuff here. All these spiny bits that are sticking out. Like I said, we're basing it off of like this guy. I'm gonna darken them a bit with a darker brown here. Try not to have that get on the blue too much. Now, the brown on these is already pretty dark, so it's not going to change a whole lot. Ooh, that puddled quite a bit. I'm gonna work on what other strategy here. I need a really dry brush to just kind of soak up the excess. Oh, that's not enough. I need a bigger one. There we go. Sorry, holding finger brushes in my mouth. Okay, so you usually want to dual wield two of these. One to apply, and one to soak up excess that gets where you don't want it to be. Or it's like too puddled. Let's see. Mixed paint, blank spots that can't be hit, cracks and in the model itself, etc. Now see, like when it comes to like fixing mistakes when it comes to paint, it's as easy as just paint over it again, you know. And also depends on how the mess up is. Sometimes you can actually incorporate mistakes into it. Like I remember seeing a thing like one of the tutorials. Like one of the easiest things to paint when it comes to learning how to paint is like undead and stuff like that. They are like really kind of like loose skin and like rotting flesh, and like when you make mistakes, you just say like you can incorporate that into the story of like how the undead ended up like that, and like I say, it's like either a wound here or a spill here or like what happened when they died. Like there's a lot of ways to like incorporate story. You can do that with other things too, but also, like I said, like anything you do, you can always just paint back over. And if it's giving you trouble, you should apply some primer, and then it should apply easily on there. Now, when it comes to, say, there's like cracks, or like if I had the stuff to like fix gaps in areas from like the different parts of the model, there are things you can buy that are specifically for covering up those areas. Like that's like filling that in. That requires a bit more of like skill in the realms of like actually like shaping it to match, but the resources are there and stuff like that. Brush it out there. It's like soak up with the excess. Let's see. Now, yeah. Now, if there's a spot you can't really hit, like try to figure out like if it's like a spot that's actually going to be seen, and if it really needs to be. Like, there's some areas I probably have spent a bit more time than I should because it's really not going to be seen all that much. You don't really need to put as much detail and effort into it. Like, if it's going to be covered by, like, other parts, or if it's, like, really, like, hidden in there. Like, it's like, this would be easier to understand for, like, your mini, guru, Aldous. He has the cloak over his jacket. Now, when you're painting the jacket that's underneath the cloak, you don't have to worry too much about that paint that you're painting on the cloak, the coat, to hit the underneath of the cloak, except for like unless parts of the cloak that you can easily see. If you get a little bit under there, and no matter like where he's positioned, if his body or other things are gonna hide it, yeah, you can leave it. It's not that big of a deal. That's a bit much. These things, it's changing a little bit on these. It's bringing up a little bit of highlights in the crevices, but this doesn't have. These are pretty smooth and don't have a lot to show, especially with already how dark in the brown they are. Go. A little bit excess put on this one. Just get a small amount here. Yeah, when it comes to washes and the shading, you can be fairly liberal with it. It does not hurt to do that with these to a degree. Just watch where it puddles and certain points and make sure it's not like globbed in areas you don't want. But other than that, you can really just kind of go to town when it comes to a wash. The one I'm still not the strategy I'm still not the greatest at. I need to practice more. Is highlights. That's the one I'm tricky with, and I'm not the best at because I usually am lazy and use the quicker, like messier method than like other methods I've seen. There we go. Looks like I got a little bit on the blue parts here and there, but that's not too bad. It's not enough to like warrant a difficult cleanup. Yeah, there's only changed like so much of certain parts there, but it still works. If I wanted to stand out more, I can actually go rehit these with a more black wash, and that'll actually make the difference in color shade on this thing stand out quite a bit. See, I'd love to know when the social distancing will be over. That is really not easily determined at the moment. Like, it's just when we can be confident that we're fairly safe from the virus, and like possibly around the time we actually roll out a proper vaccine that proves to work. So there's no telling. Now, what all dry painting will I do with him? The primary parts I'm going to be focusing on, of course, because like when you dry paint, you dry brush the thing, you want to focus on areas to where there'll be most of the light will be hitting. So a lot of the top parts, his horn, the face, all the blue here, this upper area, these like spines sticking out here, certain parts of the claw, the mouth, and whatnot. And when you dry brush, like you're hitting more of the edges anyway. Like, and you focus on the spots, like I said, where light would be hitting. Now, I will still be getting like some dry brushing on even the under parts and stuff like that. Still create that depth, but I'll be going for a more proper, like actual like highlights with the white part, or the brightest of the colors on the parts where light would be hitting him. Now, I definitely probably want to wait on this to dry a bit before I move on. So, in the meantime, let's move on to my next idea on statting this guy. And that is, oddly enough, the idea for my next stat idea is actually if we're going to treat him like a more ground-based dragon and not a very water-based creature. And I'd like to look at the guard drake. The guard drake, which I actually showed a mini a second ago that I painted for the Guard Drake, which is one of these guys. This dude right here. From what I know, I think, when it comes to Guard Drakes, let me look them up a bit real quick, get more detail. Guard Drake. Guard Drakes, like dragons, come in the primary chromatic colors. The blue, green, white, red, and black. And they do resemble more the aesthetic of the color that they are. And this guy has a bit of an aesthetic to the blue one, with the horn and everything, but like I said, the paint customization can be whatever you want on this guy when you paint him, so you flavor him to this, and they have a slightly different ability in stat-wise. Or ability, stat-wise about the same, abilities here change depending upon the color. Now, see, interesting thing about Guard Drakes, though, they're not exactly natural. They're created. Guard Drakes resemble the type of dragon they were created from in appearance, except stunted and wingless with a squat and muscular build. Drakes were incapable of reproducing. They're territorial, obedient, and they're trained to perform tasks typically associated as like a watchdog of sorts. Like, wizards make some real crazy shit. Now, this stat here is a starting ground, because we're going to flavor in the aspect of, like, quoting Jurassic Park here, nature finds a way. And they, like this said, apparently they were incapable of reproducing, but let's say they are now. And not only are they capable of reproducing, they can live longer, and like, they learn how to live longer, or not learn, they evolve into living longer, and they can live similar, probably not as long as dragons, but kind of like that, where they get bigger and stronger as they age. And this guy is the result of a Guard Drake that actually, like, grew pretty big and pretty strong. And so we can take this as a baseline of the stats and use it to see where would it be pointing here, like that maybe? No, down. There we go. This right here. And then scale it like the young to adult to ancient, etc. so forth dragons blocks do. Like increasing, say, armor class, speeds, etc. so forth, like hit points, like that does. Now, so let's look at dragons 5e. Let's see. Let's look at the monster manual real quick. That. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna and we can kind of base some stuff off how, like, the stat changes from the scaling there. Get past the demons and the devils until we get to dragons. Come on. Dinosaur, almost there. Doppelganger. Draco Liches. Here we go, dragons. Okay, so let's go ahead and just look at the blue dragon as a reference here, because this guy kind of resembles a blue dragon with a singular horn. in the front. Now, say the Young Blue Dragon has an 18 armor class, 40 foot speed on the ground. We're ignoring the flying speed because they don't have that, but they also have a burrow speed, which is pretty interesting. And it has 152 hit points. Now going back a bit to the Wormling, instead of 152, it only has 52 hit points. I hit my mic, I'm sorry. Speed is only 30, burrows 15 instead of 20. You know, you could kind of like try to figure out like the scaling from one stat to another stat, like how much stronger it gets, how much more health it gets, like how long it takes to get there, what actions it gets, how strong its attacks and abilities are, and kind of scale it similarly to a growing guard drake and make this big dude into a fully grown guard drake of sorts. Because that'd be something pretty fun flavor-wise to take guard drakes and do more with. And also, like I said, you can even take all these colors. Make sure I'm pointing correctly. Down. Closer. These colors. And incorporate that appropriately to how you want to color and flavor this guy. Which, other than, of course, the Legiacris, this would be actually my, possibly my second go-to on how I would stat or use this guy for. Which would be really interesting. Sorry about the yawn. I'm sure there are other things. Whew. We could use to stat him. We could even like just make up like possible stats from scratch if we wanted to, but I'm not as experienced on creating encounters and creatures and other things to fight, so I personally would like to have like a base to go from first. So, like, there's a lot of possibilities. And heck, to be fair, you could even, like, go back into older editions than 5th edition to try to find something to inspire what to change this guy into. And use him, like, for and whatnot. There's all kinds of possibilities. Okay. I wonder if these spikes are dry enough now to continue on. Yeah, Legiacus Dragon Turtlenecks would be pretty cool. Although I'd like to keep my like trying to find some mix between there with the stats would be cool, but I'd keep most of the Legiacus stuff for him. I'm trying to think about what I would paint next after I finish up this dude. I'm thinking about either that big aberration water creature thing I showed a second ago, or the Pobulbula, whatever, here, or even, or maybe move on to another thing I printed earlier and paint this griffin. But I'm leaning on the aquatic ones first because there is a contest that the Artisan Guild Patreon hosts every month when they release a set, and I would like to try to put one in for that. So probably lean into one of those water boys. Okay. I think we can start a bit on the blue shade here. And get some of this done. The stream's been going on for an hour and a half. Probably won't stay on for too much longer, exactly. Let's see, bring up my boy here. There you are. There we go. The Drakenhof Nightshade from Citadel. I like these shaders. I need to get some other colors though. Yeah, buy me some that's like some like specific ones I need. Like I find myself oddly enough needing a purple shade a lot, and I never really, and I always have to like mix the red and the blue, and it uses a lot of the shade because it's hard to like get it out of there without using a brush, two different brushes, and like stippling them out to a degree. Or I need to give me some of those little like little dowel things, like little mini basters. Is that correct? No, I think I just got some on it. Okay. Right now, I'm just gonna work with what I got. I need a good amount for this guy, and we're just gonna like really kind of just hit him with this. Just kind of like really lay it on there, you know, just and spread it as best I can. I'm trying to be real careful once we get to that underside. I think that really darkens up that blue. Okay, closed it on myself. Damn it. I have to do more of this like chatting based like streams and talk D&D and other D&D stories and stuff like that, or crazy ideas about things. So much as kind of wanted. Had to kind of let it lay it on there and let it do its thing. To go back over certain parts here. There we go. I still do intend to like paint the eye a bit differently here. I've just been waiting after this applying the shade here to do that. Let's get really careful here around the horn. A bit. Oh well. This side of your face here. Definitely have to touch these teeth a bit. Try as I might, I ended up getting the blue on the teeth. To a degree, I'm liking the effect coming out of this though. Quite a bit. I gotta be sure I hit the underparts here. That'll be a weird. Hit the under the scales and spines is brighter than the rest. Which, if did properly, that could be like a cool glowing effect sort of thing, like the inside of the creature kind of like glows. But that is not what I'm currently going for. That require a lot of touch up after. That would be crazy. Yeah, like no, one thing would be cool is like instead of like just going off straightly through this chat thing, if some of my friends want to actually be in like a Discord chat with me during the stream, and if they're okay with talking on stream, like especially like there's a character I'm gonna be painting soon on stream. I would like to have my Monday campaign DM chat with me about the character in which I am painting and the stories related to him. I'm not gonna give out much more detail. I want that to be kind of a cool little surprise, except for I'll of course talk to him about it. But that, it won't be until I get done with this guy. And I get more used to this chatting thing. So Drew, I will talk to you later about times and when we can possibly do that, the two of us. Thing about okay, I gotta be a little bit more. I gotta position him differently, be a little more careful, because like on this side, I can see the brush strokes too much, and I don't really want that. I want this to be more like a natural sort of pooling. I'm just kind of like, I'm not applying it like I do paint normally, where like I keep spreading it evenly and thinly until I get enough layers with actual brush. The highs of brush strokes, this, I'm just kind of like, I'm putting it there, I'm guiding it, and I'm just kind of like letting it do its thing. Yeah, this side looks a lot better. I'm trying to really get under those kinds of things. That position was not comfortable on my arm. I think I'm gonna hit this side again a bit more, because I don't like the weird like brush stroke kind of thing going on to it. Just kind of dabbing on there a little bit. I let gravity do most of the work for me. That helped a little bit. I think the touch up with like the highlights and stuff will fix a bit of that weirdness to the look pretty well. on there. Encourage it a bit. I think I have to worry too much about actually getting some of the blue on the brown part here, because it's like it's already kind of a dark brown and it won't stick out too badly if I do. I think I'm brushing a bit too much. Started brushing again. Shoot. Just get it on there. Let it kind of do its job. Yeah, I've noticed all you guys have been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online, Drew. It's a little disconcerting for me because like a lot of stuff's been going on in Monster Hunter Iceboard that been doing, and hoping some of the guys would want to jump in with me and do it. But I'm not about to like ask or guilt trip anybody. I can handle a lot of it. It's just be more fun. I mean, I don't know why I said ask her. I meant like not ask, like try to force her thing out. Like I'll ask, like see if when y'all want to, if you want to like pull away from the ESO for a bit or something like that. But I'm not gonna like try to like make y'all stop playing Elder Scrolls Online just to play Monster Hunters. Are we in between songs right now? 1 second. It didn't stop on me, did it? Shit. Can't pull away from this just yet. Check it. It's playing. Why is it so quiet? Oh, there it is. It's kicking in there a little bit in the back, I guess. Charlie heard the event, honestly. I need a breakfast, so. What's almost 2 weeks? Yeah, like there are some new events and stuff going on. There's a new seasonal festival happening in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Like the like I see, like it is pretty cool. Like I like what's going on with it and stuff like that. And they've also at the same time brought back a lot of other events, and including the Safi Jiva raid. That's back too, and I need to check. I need to find out like when they're gonna bring Kulturoth Master Rank, because right now we still got Safi, but I need a lot of like Safi stuff, like upgrade bits. I need to do Safi more. I also need to re-help like on your edge of being burned out, which I really don't want to happen because I have tons of fun. Yeah, every now and then it's probably good to take like a small break. Yeah, Savajiva, the raid is back for a little bit. Get to. Yeah, like there's a bit of farming I also need to do on that guy. And I've even like been working on a build for like breaking parts or poisoning him a bunch, like just to make the raid like go by a bit quicker. I also need to get you and Bjorn and anybody else past Fiora Shijang and Raging Brecadios. There we go. Getting this boy's arm. There are parts here where I feel like I've overdone some of the shading a bit, maybe too dark, but that's easily fixable. But we'll see after it dries and I start applying the dry brush, we will see like how it works. It might just work out perfect. You never really know. The shades and highlights really bring out magic in your minis. Like it really shows off some stuff. Let's see. Nice, I was working on a Dragon Steel bow for Safi. I tried them both like 4 or 5 times. Urshang and Brekkie, I mean, they are tough. Oh, thank you for the compliment on this guy. Yeah, like, oddly enough, I finally got around to fighting Rajang because I haven't fought the Fury Rajang yet. Because I was focusing on trying to get as much Brekkie stuff as possible and doing the other events. Because, like, Fury Rajang has good stuff to him, but the really good equipment comes off of Raging Brekkie. And honestly, Fury Rajang is a good amount easier than Raging Brekkie. Like I just like the one thing that's been holding me back on using their stuff more is like Brachiosaurus armor is that I need to like augment them and level up the armor more, and that takes so many armor spheres, man. What is going on with this music playlist? Some of these songs are just so quiet they like keep cutting out. What the hell? You think so? I was having an easier time with Brachy. Maybe, I don't know. Some people just their playstyle can translate differently. I don't think I have any augmented equipment besides my happy stuff. Well, yeah, like technically, because um, when it comes to augmenting armor, some of the you can augment some of the lower rarity armors with stuff, but the highest rarity stuff, like the level 12 armor, you don't get the stuff to augment that until you hit you unlock a level 7 area in the Guiding Lands, and you unlock the Tempered Monsters that drop the crystals. The specific Great Spirit Vein Shard. I think. Mouth is being stupid. Oh, it is 10:13. I'm only gonna be able to shade this guy a little bit more before I stop here. We about hit 2 hours straight, and I gotta go fix myself something to eat. Mani painting can take quite a while, but I gotta say it is very relaxing and therapeutic. Like in all seriousness, like this is such a fun little pastime to have, and it's so calming. You know, with all this, oh, thanks. Thanks, man. Also, the, even with this quarantine and everything and social distancing going on, I've not been able to bring out a lot of my stuff I've painted onto the table, unfortunately, but this is giving me a chance to catch up and get a lot of things painted to bring to the table once we can again. Which I have a large container of minis that I need to paint. Like I do keep printing stuff, but I also have like a lot of things to go through. And unfortunately, in my situation, because of my job, I do not. I mean, like fortunately, let me specify this. Fortunately, I still have income I was still working since I work at a grocery store and it is essential service. But also, I don't have that free time to really dedicate into something. So, like, I couldn't, like, just take on the challenge and just burn through a bunch of, like, minis and get them all painted. But I'm trying to spend some time to do that and start this stream to hang out and relax with people and stuff like that who are also still at home. And also possibly even to go back and get grab time lapses of this, so this is also technically for recording it later. So hey, win-win. Yeah, it's like oddly enough, when it comes to you bring up artistic side, and like the thing that really grabbed me about D&D is that, see, I still have my ambitions and dreams and goals about filmmaking. And I've been on this weird little rut on coming up with stories and other things like that, and making short films, and so I've been having a hard time getting that creative itch scratched. And whenever I got to start playing D&D more, and I have my friend, my roommate to thank for that. This is our Tuesday DM. And I started playing more D&D. It's it really kind of awoken something in me, and it's been a really good creative outlet, just coming up with characters, and in the long run, this is actually going to be better for my short film making and other creative like that, because it is a whole new way to look at storytelling and creating characters for those stories and stuff like that, and it's just been a huge boon and great, and I love that I've gotten into Dungeons and Dragons. That's also helped me flex the small actor side I have, even though that's not really what I want to go for in filmmaking. I want to be more on the creating and directing side, but it's the acting part is still fun, and that role playing aspect is great. And the mini painting and stuff like that I've always had a part of me that's a crafting, working with my hands. I really enjoy working with my hands at times, and getting crafty. And I probably get a bit of that from my mom because she's really good at that. Ooh, my hand's getting shaky. And this is awesome because a lot of things that that makes, let me set that down, that makes mini painting easier and less intimidating than traditional art of drawing and painting, stuff like that, is that you can cheat so much more because technically these shapes have already been made for you. Someone else crafted what would be part of the drawing and painting, what the thing is and what it looks like. That's done. And now you just go in there and put color on it, and you can make things look so realistic so easily and cheat so well. On this, the shading here, this brings shadows and other sorts of stains and tones to things, and little axes could be part of the story, a certain color, if they got blood or they spilled something, or just anything. It's mini painting is such a cheaty, lovely thing with such good reward, and I love it. So good. Okay. Oh, my arm started to shake there. My left arm. Yeah, I'll probably have to make sure to put extra detail on his neck here, because that got a bit darker than I intended it to. But I can still work with that. So we're that just fine. Okay, I think I'm gonna call him for the night. Yeah, and I did get a little bit of blue here and there on the brown parts, but you can't really tell all that well. It still looks dark brown. The blue doesn't show too much because of the really dark colors. I attempted to write a few novels back in the high school, so a few years back I attempted to finish one of the writer's block had stuck me hard, causing me to abandon all stories that I've been working on. Thanks to our Tuesday campaign, it's got me writing things, and my constantly in my head constantly coming up with choices, settings, and remember to. Yes, exactly. Like heck, like what's funny is that technically you could take the tools that the game and other, even depending on the genre, you can go to other tabletop game guides and use their tools that they have for creating a character, and use that for creating the characters, like the main characters and side characters, in a story, and like add things to them, like with the backstories and otherwise. You can use that to make your characters, and it's kind of crazy. It's funny, like you use a character creator like you would a video game otherwise, in this to make the characters and how their backstories and other things line up and be in your story, writing or otherwise. Yeah. Now, um, like one thing that like has always held me back, even now after even getting the creative boost from D&D, is the writing process. Like you quite like the writing process, and I like the creating and doing aspect. Like when it comes to taking the ideas I have in my head and putting them on paper, is one of the most tedious things for me, unfortunately. Like because I deal with like ADHD and stuff like that, I have a hard time sitting down and putting into text the thoughts in my head in a more congruent and organized way. And like, and I blame a little bit of that on how little I put into effort in writing and reading classes just growing up through school. And it's just, and even then it's just not become easy because I'm like, I don't know what words to use, what sounds more fluid, and like still makes sense, and it helps get the idea I had in my head across to the actors and other people who would be helping me make this stuff to create that story. And that's one of the big things that's held me back. The other thing is time, money, people, and the big one is organizing it all, figuring out how much time I should spend on doing this, how much time I have to actually do it, and what I should do first to last in that process. And all that's going to come with time spent. So hey, it's just gotta keep doing. And I actually have an idea for something I want to make, but I'm not gonna put too much detail on that just yet. I just know it's gonna be something that's gonna be going on my main channel, Drinker Productions, and yeah, I like the idea. It's pretty simple. I'm just gonna start trying to write it and storyboard it. Writing's tedious, but I think that's why I love it. I have always loved to write. Yeah, I mean, like writing is easier to be more eloquent with, and that is I prefer communicating via text or otherwise. I don't like phone calls because of the amount of focus I have to put on it, away from everything else I'm doing. Because like I like to be doing something most of the time. The most meditative thing I do is this mini painting, where it's a tedious long term thing, but it's relaxing. But like going through text, I like being able to type out exactly what I mean, how I mean it, in this eloquent way, and taking the time to craft it. It's cause my brain works faster than my mouth, or vice versa. They change roles and they skip over each other, and it's a mess. And I don't like communicating like as often in person. I mean, I'll talk in person. It's easier than anything. But over the phone, there's just something there that isn't fun. Ugh. All right, I think it's time to wrap up this stream. Um, And I will, let me get rid of my boy here, put up my, thank you very much. And I don't know exactly when I'll stream again. If I do tomorrow, it'll probably be around 6 or 7-ish, and Tuesday it'll be a lot later because it'll have to be after a D&D game, so I wouldn't stream till like midnight. I don't know if anybody will be up to watch at the time. Yeah, like I said, just to hit on that before I leave, like the talking on the phone thing, the big thing is that, like I said, I'm always in this space of like doing or focusing on something in my space, and being on the phone takes so much effort away from that, and it kind of creates this uncomfortable tension for me. But like I said, see y'all next time. I'll probably post on Instagram or tweet out somewhere before I stream, so keep an eye out on that. I'll probably start trying to post that in the information below these, so. But that's next time. Have a good one. Good night.